Welcome to part 2 of Happy Hour with the Keverend. This day we're going to be looking at the prayer of confession, the declaration of pardon, the response to pardon, the sharing of the peace, and children's time. And so to line up that music, the first up will be Blind Faith's Can't Find My Way Back Home, followed by Van Morrison, When Will I Ever Learn to Live in God? Then the declaration of pardon will be Blind Faith's In the Presence of the Lord. The response to pardon is Yes, We Have Heaven. And sharing the peace, the Who, Join Together, Sly and the Family Stone, Everyday People. The children's time is a song by the group Marillion, and the name of the song is Lavender. And then the second piece for that will be the song by the Jefferson Airplane, O Good Shepherd. Back in the 70s, there was a group at the very start of the 1970 that was called Blind Faith. It was made up of Eric Clapton, Steve Winwood, Ginger Baker, and Rick Gretsch. Gretsch and Winwood would go on to form Traffic, and Baker and Clapton would join Jack Bruce to form Cream. But in these days it was the Jesus movement, and so this song reflects a bit of that focus. Can't find my way back home. We think of that as a metaphor for home as a place of the soul, of where we are one with God. And so that's the theme that's at work in this particular piece. Come down off your throne and leave your body alone. Somebody must change. The second piece that goes along with that is Van Morrison's When Will I Ever Learn to Live in God? Van Morrison and a number of other people, musicians, have a wide range of music that has a faith theme, and there's a lot that I could have brought into this but left it out to give it some direction and focus. But this particular song, I think, is one that a lot of us could agree with. When will I ever learn to live in God? It's part of a prayer confession, if you will, and some of the lines that come out of it I want to share with you. You brought it to my attention that everything was made in God. Down through centuries of great writings and paintings, everything was in God. Seen through architecture of great cathedrals, down through the history of time, is and was and in the beginning and evermore shall ever be. When will I ever learn to live in God? When will I ever learn? He gives me everything I need and more. When will I ever learn? And up on the hillside it's quiet, where the shepherd is tending his sheep, and over the mountains and in the valleys, and the countryside is so green. Standing on the highest hill with a sense of wonder, you can see everything is made in God. Head back down the roadside and give thanks for it all. A declaration of pardon is something that a minister usually offers to a congregation after the confession of sin. And so the piece of music that I've chosen to go along with that is In the Presence of the Lord by Blind Faith. Again, the theme of the recognition of God's grace and presence in our lives. And the refrain goes, I have finally found a way to live in the presence of the Lord. And the verse goes, I have finally found a way to live in the presence of the Lord, just like I never could before. I know that I don't have much to give, but I can open any door. Everybody knows a secret. Everybody knows the score. I have finally found a way to live in the presence of the Lord. The next song is by Yes, We Have Heaven on the Fragile album. This is an album that I wore the hound out of, listening to it over and over again. one of my favorite albums of that era of time. And on it, this short refrain, "We Have Heaven," is more of a faith witness statement. Tell the moondocks, tell the valleys, we have heaven. As Presbyterians, we gather together after we have had our prayer, confession, and declaration of pardon. Then very often we share the peace of Christ. And so more than once over the years, as we have gotten to that point in the worship service, I have thought, wouldn't it be interesting to play "Join Together" by The Who during this period of time? And some of the words to that song are pretty relevant to joining together as God's people. When you hear the sound a coming, hear the drummer drumming. I want you to join together with the band. We don't move in any particular direction, and we don't make no collections. Want you to join together with the band. Everyday People by Sly and the Family Stone. This is another one of those albums that I used to play a lot in 1970 and 71. And the refrain of it, "Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. My own beliefs are in my song. The butcher, the banker, the drummer, and then makes no difference what group I'm in. I'm everyday people." There is a yellow one that won't accept the black one, that won't accept the red one, that won't accept the white one. Different strokes for different folks, and so on, and Scooby-Dooby-Doo. I am everyday people. Oftentimes after we have shared the peace, then the very next thing that we do in a worship service is to have a children's moment. And as I was reflecting back on some songs that were important to me that reflect more of the time of my childhood, one that came to mind was Sammy Turner's Lavender Blue. It was a 1959 recording, and I remember in the summer of 1960, we had visited some friends, and they had a sound system that went throughout the house, and I was sitting by myself one morning in a room listening to this particular song, and so it has always been a song of my childhood. And then a group named Marillion, a Scottish group, has redone the song Lavender Blue and called it Lavender, and so I want to share with you some of that. And while you're listening to the music, I'll show you here some pictures of me as a small child. The last song for today, and one that is also part of the children's time, is one called "Good Shepherd" by Jefferson Airplane. Jefferson Airplane is not somebody you would think that would convey a spiritual Christian message, and yet here it is. In this song, the Good Shepherd goes this way: "If you want to get to heaven, over on the other shore, stay out of the way of the blood-stained bandit. O good shepherd, feed my sheep. One for Paul, one for Silas, one for to make my heart rejoice. Can't you hear my lambs a-calling? O good shepherd, feed my sheep." Enjoy.